I have already shown you how to gap fill your 3D prints and to paint the giant mushrooms, so today I'm going to be tackling the grotto itself and all those little rocky rising areas to give extra levels to your combat. We're going to be covering it from the ground upwards, making sure that our grey tones are matching that underdark vibe, particularly potent in Baldur's Gate 3. For me, the most potent part of the underdark is that underseated purple through every element. With the mushrooms you can lean into the reds and blues as the raised areas, but at ground level I really like a purple-grey. This battle mat is an alien hive I picked up for a gaming table, and with these 3D printed elements from printable scenery, they look exquisite, really leaning into that drow, the gloom and the almost fantasy mystic element of it all. And that all starts with purples and greens, so we're going to start our terrain the same way. I've primed these using Colourforge primer. I used their Imperial purple and their Renegade green. I actually used them both just one after another while wet, and I wanted to make them look quite patchy. In my other video, I showed you how to seal your 3D print to minimise your layer lines and prime, so the patchy areas of brown you're seeing here are where my primer missed, revealing the brown mix we used earlier. However, I'm going to lean into that because nature defies order. Starting off, I'm going to use our extremely budget-friendly TTCombat paints, and Kepri Sunshine Yellow is going to lead the charge. Now, many of you will be wondering why I'm using yellow if I'm primarily moving through the greys. For things like basic limestone layers or moss build-up, or if you just want to maintain some of the warmth in the greys, a dry brush of yellow in the early stages can really bring that out. There's been a modern trend in YouTubers recently who cover Warhammer and mini-painting content in doing underpainting, having your undercolours shine through your more recent layers. This is something that's been done at a particularly high level for a long time, but we're now seeing it trickle down. I'm going to try that today in my mini painting for our terrain. While we are aiming for the rock, any of this yellow that gets onto your mushrooms will only help with your future highlights, and if you want to imply bioluminescence. Anchor Blue Grey is our next to apply, and we're going to change brush for this, switching to a stippling brush. Stippling brushes have far firmer bristles and sometimes much more dense, sometimes even larger bristles. These are great for applying texture when stabbing the paint in a downward motion. Make sure you take off half the paint so you can see the individual bristles as you apply. Doing this in routine layers will build up that texture and will build up through the shades nicely, blending. The reason I chose Anchor Blue Grey is so we can harmonise with that purple and the nice kind of dampish shades. If I went too harsh a grey too quickly, we would lose that gloomy look. When it comes to terrain painting, it is easy to do it very quickly with just heaving dry brushes and a few washes, but slowing down and choosing your colours wisely can create an amazing effect. Here I feel like I'm lacking some shadows, certainly in these crevices, so I'm going to apply some watered down black acrylic just into those to bring out that depth. For those new to the hobby, you may be thinking, why don't you just wash the whole thing in watered down Nuln oil? The problem with using a wash is it brings everything down one tone, while now I'm building a contrast between the darker and the raised areas. As we are going back to dry brushing, this model needs to be completely dry, and having watered down that black paint, this could take a while, so here I'm going to speed up with a hairdryer. If I'd have been more prepared, I would have had about 8 of these ready at the same time and worked in one giant production line. This is actually my preferred way of doing things because it keeps all of your rocky outcrops consistent no matter when you do them. If you come back a different day, some of them look slightly different, some of them will be darker, lighter. Well, arguably it could be good for variance, but I want these all to look like the same biome. We are now working further from that contrast we applied with using a dry brush of Ash Grey. Ash Grey is primarily picking out all of the big spiky bits, the rough edges, and any cracks. This dry brush is drawing attention to primarily where the light is hitting, all those hard edges. Now, we don't want to forget about the green we applied with the undercoat, so we're going to mirror that with this Seaglass Green for our next dry brush. Again, further highlighting those hard edges, but going back to that gloomy colouring that I've been desiring to keep. With these layers wanting to be a little lighter and more delicate, I switched over to an old makeup brush, which can apply it just a little more chalkily than the flat dry brush. I find that a lot of mini painting brushes are really good for like directional painting, but when it comes to makeup brushes, it's just a softer touch over the whole thing, and it's a lot harder to see which directions your strokes came from. Really key for these hard-edged areas. And we're going to continue that with just straight up white. With this, we're going to be more tactical in our application, focusing on the extreme edges. So here we've got the top of these cracked panels, we've got the very edge of the terrain piece breaking out from the mat, and we've also got these kind of clustered edges along the ridge of this raised platform. If you do go a little bit too light, you can always work back a shade and just reapply. While working through this, I was mindful of the giant mushrooms I painted earlier, so I wanted a strong contrast between the tips of those and the purple base layer of my battle mat. With the Underdark being rich in weird life forms at a place of high damp, I wanted to show some moss and some bilge, so using Ogre Bogie Green, watered down, I applied some splodges here and there in the recesses, places where damp could build up. To show density and variation in the growth patterns, I also applied some watered down Kepri Sunshine Yellow while the previous Ogre Bogies were still wet. Ogre Bogies Green. With both these paints being heavily diluted, they blended nicely into each other with a natural diffusion. As the Underdark is a quite heavily undiscovered place, at least to the realms of men, it's quite easy for you to go wild with these colours. There is no reason you should be tame. This is a really adventurous place. I would even be tempted to try some light blues or oranges. For the stalks of each of the mushrooms, I'm going to use Mummified Khaki. Now, for those planning to do some light work on an afternoon, this is the bit you need to prepare your time for. Everything I'd done previously did not take as much time as just picking out all of these stalks. It took forever. I've sped the footage up here to make it easier for you guys, but please understand, however long you think this takes, double it. However, in hindsight, you can ignore the smallest of mushrooms. The purple primer we applied just looks like shadows. Leaning into the unusual nature of mushrooms, I gave those a quick overbrush with Shale Grey. The grey over the warmer, creamier colour of the khaki does look a little off and a little unusual, much like mushrooms themselves. This was a lot quicker to apply because I did not have to be anywhere near as delicate. But do use an older brush, as you will ruin the tip of your best brush. Now, my general rule when it comes to mushrooms is just pick two colours, a base layer and a highlight for the top of the caps. So I started off by picking out one particular mushroom type. These ones are the large flat domed mushrooms, and I started with Anubti Flesh. From here I went around picking out every single instance of that mushroom on all the terrain pieces, and again it took me hours. However, I promise you it is worth it in the end. Now, if you want to do this quite cheaply and quite easily, what you could do is pick out a universal colour for mushrooms. While here I take this into Honeycomb Orange, you could lead the Anubti Flesh into more shades of red, or you could lead it into more shades of brighter orange. So using a constant, you can then extrapolate into much quicker development. I think the easiest and quickest process here would be to start from purple. You could then apply into a pink, or you can go purple into red, or you could go purple into a brighter shade of purple. That would speed things up. However, I really want to lean into the biodiversity, so I've gone into red shades for some and the orange for the previous. So this Capo Red is so wonderfully bright and it takes really well over that purple primer. Saying it now, the mini painting world is sleeping on TTCombat reds, certainly over a purple base coat. Back on my stream this week, I actually used this Umbral Purple as a base coat for the Capo Red and made some really nice red cloaks for one of my new wizards. I have a serious soft spot for old school fantasy wizards. Give me more sword and sorcery. To ride into some of that brightness, we're going to use some Viscera Red to really make these smaller button mushrooms pop against the greys and the purples and the greens we introduced. For me, the Underdark is a lot like Gotham City. Now, bear with me. Gotham City in the comic books is a landscape, but really it's part of the character of the Batman mythos. The Underdark is almost a character of Dungeons & Dragons. This bright world where everything's different and not too much is understood really leans into the mystery of the world, taking it into that fantasy landscape that's very unique to D&D and doesn't bleed into your Game of Thrones or your Lord of the Rings. I'm making these much brighter than my normal miniatures terrain. Normally I want my miniatures to stand out against the Underdark, but at this point I want them to look consumed by the Underdark. Just a little tonal shift in my Dungeons & Dragons campaign, presented through my painting. In fact, many Underdark creatures are actually quite dark, gloomy and grey, so would stand out against this terrain, while others like Flumps would complement it really well. We'll go back to Ogre Bogie to make these tall morels looking particularly vibrant, before once again leaning into that old faithful Kepri Sunshine Yellow. With such densely packed mushrooms, they don't need to look fantastic on their own, they just need to be eye-catching as a colony. The natural, almost pruning of these morels really take well to short, sharp strokes, picking out each of those edges, much like we did on the larger ones. As always, I do put a full list of the paints used in the description below, so if you do need to refer to it later, please feel free. Take this time to do any little top-ups, any little blemishes you want to fix, and then take a moment to appreciate your work. This is a lot of mushrooms for one person to do, but you can make an amazing scenery with them. I am so proud of the pictures I've took, and my players absolutely are thriving for the next encounter. They're currently heading into the Underdark, trying to resurrect a fallen Spore Druid, a member of their party. They may also be in for some trouble. I really do hope you're as impressed with your terrain as I am with mine. Printable Scenery has done an amazing job bringing this out. My 3D printer did only some of the work, but the rest of it was all done by hand. For those who have an airbrush, I can't wait to see what you do with this. Some of the glow effects you could do would be absolutely amazing. Today's video was kept at a very beginner-friendly level, as I believe terrain should be approachable for everyone. Thank you to everyone who's been watching along today. I really do appreciate your time, and if you did get value from this content, please do consider subscribing to the channel. I will be back soon with another video, but if you can't wait till then, I'm always live on Twitch every week. Thank you to all my Patreons. You are the absolute bee's knees, the muck's nut to the big banana. You let me do this content for a living. Rest well, adventurers.